But like one of my goals this year specifically was to honestly respond better to negative people, but also like my community in general, because I spent a lot of last year just being exhausted. You know, reading comments was exhausting, and all of the negative comments were getting me down. And so the lesson slash like thing I learned last year was not everybody is worth your time. And if somebody is a trash fire, they don't need to stay around. That's honestly something I've been trying to learn more than just over the last year. Like, even on Twitch, for example, I used to be extremely patient with people, and it was just kind of like, okay, you know, they'll probably grow out of it and, like, be better eventually. And it's true, there's actually quite a number of people that used to be, I'm not going to say insufferable, but they used to be far less mature. And yeah, just with age comes experience and calm? But there are some people that just, like, no matter what, they're just going to be a toxic existence and aren't worth keeping around. It's just the rule. So you're describing most teenagers? Probably, yeah. I mean, I don't want to generalize. There are definitely some adults that are problems, too. Honestly, the worst people I generally have to deal with are adults, because you know they generally won't change. They might be more reasonable, but, like, it's hard to do so. Like, I don't talk to a lot of my relatives anymore because they've just been evil for the past, like, 10 years. And haven't stopped. Like, it's probably no secret that I'm a huge fan of the idea of, like, universal healthcare and a bunch of other things. I popped on Facebook, I want to say a month ago, and it was my aunt railing against the idea of it and how it's going to ruin America and blah blah blah, even though, like, I think, honestly, the majority of the, like, developed nations now have some level of universal healthcare. And, like, sure, it might mess some things up, but, like, mostly just insurance companies, and honestly, they can go suck a duck. But so I was just browsing Facebook for a moment. I still have a lot of my relatives friended, and I haven't blocked them. I've just gotten off Facebook. And, she was, yeah, just yelling about how awful it was going to be. When she was hit in the head. Well, one, she's on socialized healthcare-ish. Like, if it wasn't for Medicare, she'd actually just be dead. She's got, it's not Lyme's disease, it's some other autoimmune disease from a tick bite, but she also got kicked in the head by a horse. Like, I think it was 10 years ago? Something like that, which would have killed her. But I think my dad and my relatives pulled a lot of money to specifically, you know, obviously... Ooh, that's really good. To specifically, you know, help her out. Do I want this? Yeah, that's really good. I like the incendiary cask of protection, but it's not that amazing. But, like... I don't know. Give me a second. I have to actually consider my equipment here. Let's see, is that better? I like the Marauder's ammo belt. It's pretty good. Mainly for Marauder's salvo. That proc effect is real good. So we lose a bit of swiftness for some extra electricity damage. I do some of that, but mainly also lightning sphere. Yeah.
Put it to good use.
Alright, because I already know that.
Hey. Like. Iron well spent.
Got something you need stashed?
I apparently have a lot of tonics of mending. I can live with 3 probably for the time being.
I'll keep an eye out.
We'll see. I pick up enough of them as I go along. So you don't like the idea of universal healthcare because it would mean more government control over your life. I see. At the same time, I feel like you could still have privatized healthcare if you wanted it. Like, it's for me, the point of universal healthcare is not that all healthcare is handled by the government. It's that all healthcare is guaranteed by the government, and if you want to have better healthcare, then you buy into that. Because there's a difference between, like, universal healthcare and, you know, government-only healthcare. Because, yeah, you can actually have some pretty decent healthcare if you are specifically in the U.S., if you have the money for it. The problem is, if you don't have the money for it, you are absolutely boned. And with stuff like, yeah, our current pandemics, it's a little spooky, the idea of, like, you know, what if you do actually have to, what if you do actually have to go under quarantine? What if you actually have to go to the ICU? Can you afford that? How many of you guys actually have, you know, $2,000 in the bank? 5,000? 10,000? 100,000? And at what point would you have to go bankrupt as a result of all of this? And, like, yeah, don't even have $700. And, like, if I remember right, the test for the coronavirus testing, just testing in the U.S. is like $4,000 total, which is more than most people have. And, yeah, that's not good. Like, I think I'd be more cool with it if it cost like $50. Like, okay, sure, why not? That's pittance. But thousands? That's more money than most people have. It's ridiculous, especially when most of Congress has it now. We're talking Corona? Yeah. I have no idea how this is going to go. It's really interesting. Grim Dawn specifically is going to be me talking about Corona specifically. Because it started with me potentially going to Disneyland right at the start of it starting to finally hit the US. And everybody was like, you're going to get the Corona and die. And the answer is, even if I get the Corona, I'm probably not actually in a whole lot of danger. And I've said this, like, a couple of times already, that it's, like, truly it's the elderly in my life that are in danger. And I know everybody likes to say, like, you know, it's fine, it's not going to affect the young people, but, like, I happen to like several people that are above the age of 70. And those are the people that are going to die. Not to mention, like, everybody getting sick for a while. Because that's spooky. The other thing is just, like, I'm not really sure how it's going to affect, like, how resources are distributed around me. Like, is everything just going to kind of shut down for a while? Is everybody going to be really weird? Is everybody just going to be absolute,
I can't open that.
Oh, Gates of Anguish. Requires a skeleton key. Huh. Interesting. Ooh, look at this thing. Slime Bolter. I'm not actually sure if this is good. I like the idea of it, but I think, in actuality, it's not a good weapon. Not for me, at least. Alright, let's get out of here, I guess. And no paid sick leave for low-wage service jobs is straight up a health hazard. Oh yeah, super spooky. That's good for acid and poison builds. I just am not. I'm not doing those. I think we want to go to the Broken Hills. I don't actually know where we are. Yeah, okay, this is the right location. Perfect. Hope that was it. I can't imagine it's good for the company's bottom line either. Sick workers are inherently a drain on resources, and they insist on it because serfs must suffer. I think the point is, like, it's like the... I don't know how many of you guys have ever paid attention to the death of Toys R Us. But I thought the death of Toys R Us was fascinating. Even years ago when, like, I wasn't super in tune to any kind of current events or politics or anything like that. But effectively, Toys R Us was doing great, and then they brought on a new guy who started, like, pushing a lot of kind of dodgy things to try and maximize profits really, you know, in the short term. And the thing is, the guy succeeded. He made a shit ton of money and then pieced out after maybe a year or two. And then Toys R Us went bankrupt. Like, they had a series of issues, but a lot of what, you know, the nail in the coffin, from what I know, is just effectively wholesale looting of it. Yeah, wholesale short-term gains, long-term losses. And the problem is, like, this guy was able to just sail off into the sunset and succeed. Like, as far as I know, he made it out with all of the money. And, like, okay, good for him, I guess. But the problem is, like, that sort of thing's really spooky, because if one person can loot a whole company, that means kind of, like, nothing is safe? And, like, for example, if new management took over McDonald's and decided, yeah, you know what, screw it. We're not actually going to, keep our burgers high quality for, like, you know, anymore. We're just gonna run this company into the ground, tank the product quality, but really, really kill overhead. You know, more or less, get rid of all employees, just keep it skeleton crew, soak in the profits for like a week, or not a week, like 2 years, before people get so pissed off that they won't eat at McDonald's anymore. At which point, we quit the company and then leave whoever's left to kind of deal with it. And, like, could happen. It's terrifying. Because we wouldn't know until after the fact when it comes out that all of our burgers were made out of cardboard. I mean, I think it was Subway recently got sued specifically because their chicken is like 50% soy products, like the grilled chicken breast or whatever it is. Which, like, that's not good. I mean, it is. I actually rather like soy products, and I've been trying to eat way more, you know, Impossible Burgers and Beyond Burgers and stuff like that, just because, like, you know, it's better for me. But if I get a turkey club, I want it to be a turkey club, not a 50% turkey byproduct, 50% soy mash. Oh, the test used to make that analysis was flawed? Huh. Well then. Turkey club is sacred, as are all club sandwiches. Speaking of, I had the best sandwich I've had in a long time the other day. I also had the worst. I have a bone to pick with Subway, because at the Anaheim airport, the Subway there gave me, like, day-old bread and, like, a freaking tomato stack right in the center of the sandwich. It was just straight up garbage, and I'm kind of pissed about that. But, let's see. But we went to a bar, for our friend Chad's birthday the other day. And, I don't even remember the name of it. Golden something or other. It's in downtown Portland. I can find the name. But they had a duck confit club burger that had... It was arugula, sweet peppers, and, like, one other thing. I forget the exact makeup. And it was kind of like this sweet, savory, just delicious sandwich. And, like, I'm actually drooling thinking about it. because I've never had duck on a sandwich before. Not really. My parents would make duck sometimes instead of like a Christmas goose. But like, it was just so good. Oh right, that was the last thing. It had garlic cream cheese, I think. Not a garlic mayonnaise, but a garlic cream cheese as like a spread on it. It was really moist instead of like kind of the cream cheese's usual moist paste feeling. I don't even know how to describe it. Let's see. There's a chain in Boston that's actually benefiting from switching to half meat and half mushroom burgers. Oh, I totally understand it. Like, the idea of actually pacing out meat with other things is brilliant and really good for people. It's just, you have to be upfront about it and being like, yeah, we're doing this, and it's really good, and people are like, cool. I just remember hearing about pink slime once and being really grossed out. I've always been, like, super against ground beef if I can avoid it. I don't even know what pink slime is used for generally, but it's just something that I intrinsically would like to avoid. Never did find the remaining undead that I'm supposed to wipe out. So who's this guy? I should probably go talk to him. I'm assuming he's no one important.
Watch your back. Trust no one.
Oh, you don't smell like one of Cronley's gang. Are you for another Devil's Crossing then? Name's Elsa, then a mutual friend's looking for you. I only assume you mean Mornay. Idiot nearly got me killed out in Old Arkovia. Bandits got us in the middle of the night, drawn to his damned fire. They tied me up and dragged me back towards their camp, probably to share me with the rest of the gang. Shame for them, they weren't very good at tying knots. They slit their throats while they slept and made off with my own. Why did you return to Mornay? Well, I thought he was dead, but knowing he's back in Devil's Crossing makes me a little less inclined, even less inclined to return. Not a bad man, but I can't stand to have him fawning all over me like a replacement for his dead wife. He believes there's some great romance between us and refuses to accept that I have no such feelings. Should I tell him you're alive? Might be better that he believes me dead. Last thing I need is a lovesick fool pursuing me through this hellish world. What do you mean by another from Devil's Crossing? I encountered another survivor from Devil's Crossing just recently who convinced me that Homestead was a place where I could help make a difference. Never got a name, but he cooked a fine meal and told me many remarkable stories about political intrigues in the time of the Empire. The rest... Then he set off by himself. He headed to Homestead. Why don't you join him? He just got up in the dark of night and told me he was heading on, as he had urgent business in the homestead. I warned him that it would be wise to wait until the trolls and the ethereals fought out in Smuggler's Pass, but he said he could pass unseen between them if he was alone. Sounds crazy to me, but he was a likable fellow, and I hope he fared better than I expect. I was welcome back in Devil's Crossing. Thanks, but I have no plans to return there. I'd rather find my fate in the open road. Sure, cool. Alright. So let's go back to Inquisitor. So, we want this, Storm Spread. And then we want to put a bunch of points into it, because it's just extra projectiles. And then we'll go figure out some of the other things. I feel like I shoot faster now. Maybe that's part of it. I don't really know. I am Gunman. And that's okay. Sometimes it's nice to just listen to the soundtrack for this. It's very minor, but it's good. Oh, that's the stuff. That's what I'm looking for. Let's see. Wander, I love your series on this game. I've been spending a lot of time playing Reign of Terror, Diablo 2 conversion mod. Dual classing with Diablo class is really goofy. Huh. I could take a look at that at some point. I will admit, I have a low inclination for modded stuff just because. But yeah, I could take a look. No, it's not that I have a low inclination for modded stuff. I have a low inclination for modded older games. Like for this one, it's recent enough that I'm interested. And this game is also somewhat built for modding-ish, or at least there's mod support. Though I can't actually get the mods working on this game, so I don't even know what I'm saying. But yeah, I might give it a go someday. this was a game that I've just been meaning to play for ages, just because, like, I really, really enjoy Grim Dawn, and I've always wanted to have, like, a recorded series to put up on YouTube and be like, hey, Grim Dawn's really cool. It would be difficult for me to say, go back to Diablo 2. Also, just because, like, I'm still mad at Blizzard for a lot of reasons. Because Blizzard is doing the EA thing, and I don't like it. Because I used to be a huge EA fan, and a huge Blizzard fan, and that aged like fine milk. Do you guys not have phones? Like, I can kind of understand the idea of that frustration and bewilderment. Like, the idea of people being mad about having more of something that they should like. The problem is, one, Chinese company making the game that was just like a shitty cash grab Diablo clone that no one likes. Like, in a perfect world, it would make sense. You know, find this mobile developer that made a Diablo clone that's really good, hire them to make a Diablo-branded version, go from there. But, like, that's how you get the messed-up version of this Stellaris mobile game, which, if I'm not mistaken, had a bunch of stolen assets in it. Like, they straight up stole concept art from Halo to use as, like, in-game art and backgrounds and stuff. Reminds you of Dungeon Keeper. Yep. And so it's like, I get what they were trying to go for. You know, they don't have enough people on hand or motivation to really, like, make a mobile game themselves. But, like, one, I have a pretty low opinion of a lot of, like, Chinese mobile apps, I guess. It seems like a lot of them are just... And, you know, I think a lot of this truly just has to deal with the fact that, like, I've dealt with, shirt thieves and, like, manufacturers that have stolen my art specifically out of... from... I think it's mostly China and Vietnam were the two. It was effectively... There was a manufacturer in... Okay, it was a couple of different companies. Effectively, somebody stole my art and was just reselling it as part of a package. And as part of that package deal, you would specifically hire effectively drop-shipping companies to produce it for you. And, like, it worked for them, but it was obviously super shitty and scummy on my end. And there's no way that I could, like, sit down and say, like, hey, you stole my shit, like, don't do that. You know, the best I could do is just nuke it from orbit. And they just kept coming, and coming, and coming, and coming, and eventually, you know... Eventually they stopped, just because, like, I was actually a financial liability. I'm assuming if I go through this, this is going to hurt. I don't see anything of any value in there.
I can't do that yet.
Let's see. But, like, maybe it's also just kind of the mobile game market, because there's very few protections and everybody just steals everything, but it just seems like if you were going to make a mobile game, you'd have to go the, like, Nintendo route of making it in-house and, like, really control every aspect of it. Or find, like, an extremely reputable company to make it for you. Not just kind of whoever's on hand. And so, from Blizzard's perspective, they just hired people that made a relatively competent-looking Diablo-like. they probably didn't do a whole lot of market research on whether or not this company is a good idea, whether or not anybody in the American audience is even going to give a shit. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I have a very low opinion of mobile gaming in the slightest, in general. I specifically picked up a couple of Picross games to practice before our next session of Murder by Numbers, because, one, I think Picross is actually a lot of fun. I've never played it before, so it was kind of just like, hey, cool, let's give Picross a go, and just play it for a while. And suffice to say, I hate mobile games. They're so frustrating. Like, I will make a mistake, restart, watch 3 ads, and then go back to playing. And I'm just like, not screw this. I'm just gonna go back to playing games that I just bought fully. And yes, I could spend $5 for this Picross game, but I've already been soured to the experience of just like, I don't like you purely because you were just shoving... It was like anime titties, too. It was just like one of my least favorite things, weirdly enough. It's just like, check out this, like, thinly veiled porn game, and I'm just like, no, I'm here for Picross. Give me some Picross ads. Don't give me this shit. And I realize they're just going with whatever's available, but it's just like... And, like, I know I'm not the target audience for mobile games, which I think is part of the rub, but it's just like, I just can't get into any of them. They're vapid and empty and exist mostly to loot you for money. And it doesn't seem like it's a market worth getting into unless you want to go all in, and even then that seems like a risky endeavor. Like, how many big mobile game companies even exist? And how many of them are like... How many of them actually make good games, and how many of them just make games that attract whales? Let's see, aren't Switch games partially mobile games? Kinda. But like, I'm talking phone mobile games. There's a difference between mobile games and handheld games. Because I would say the Switch is the last remnant of the handheld market. But also potentially the first in a long line of really cool handheld hybrids that don't suck. See, Sky Children Light was made by the same devs as Journey. I would actually like to play that at some point. I know Shell is pressuring me to do so, but I straight up just don't even know how to record. Like, I don't have the setup to do it. I think I have BlueStacks, and I tried it for a little bit as part of, like, Mosaic, but I have no idea about, like, a more intense thing. Let alone trying to control it? I don't know. Let's see. Today's felt like a really short an eternity at the same time. Yep. I've been waking up later, which I think has been screwing with me. Every day that I wake up early has been really nice. It's harder when I don't. Okay, let's just pump points into that. From changes. Oh, shit! I have a lot of devotion points. Okay. So I think we were looking at Hydra. Elemental damage. Yeah, Hydra is amazing. Unfortunately, we need a little bit more green and a little bit more blue. What's the quill give? Ether resistance, elemental damage, health and energy. That's not a bad one. It'd give me what I need. More elemental damage, energy... ability. Fox is all bleed. What's the eye give? Poison damage, gas damage, acid damage. Wish there was a way that I could turn on both. Guess. Oh no, I can't pause the game. What about the Falcon? Looks like it's mostly bleed. So Quill might not be a terrible idea. See, weren't you going Candle? Candle to a lesser degree. Candle's okay. I wanted this mage here. Mainly for the, he just has a flat 52 to 69 fire damage, which is really good. He requires a lot of green, though. So why don't we do Quill? And then we go Hydra. Because Hydra is also just as busted. In fact, I think Hydra is actually the most busted. Because it just has pure raw damage. And then after that, I gotta figure out some other useful things. I don't know where else we want to go, but I think this is gonna make me a lot stronger. Oh boy. Yeah, that's a massive uptick in damage. And now I've got a lot of... Now I've got a lot of lifesteal. Hello. I bring you unending firepower. Everything got kind of bad around here. Didn't sleep last night because of daylight savings time. Called in 2 hours late to work today. All days felt simultaneously too long and too short. I try... One thing that has vastly improved my life for the most part over the last couple of years is truly getting enough sleep. Maybe part of it is also I'm prone to headaches, and whenever I don't get enough sleep, it's really, really rough on my, like, physical health. You know, I'm not just tired, I'm actually, like, my head hurts, and I'm just grumpy, and I can't do things. Hello.
Well, if it isn't my old friend from Devil's Crossing. I had a feeling you'd be making your way through here.
Ulgrim, what are you doing out here?
I haven't been entirely honest with you. I'm not a chef, not by profession anyway, although maybe that would have been a better path. As it is, I'm an assassin and former First Blade of the Aralon Emperor. It's a title I've not always been proud to bear, as my line of work has not always been virtuous, but I dealt with threats to the Empire. Now all of humanity is threatened by foes more deadly than anything we've faced before. It is, however, a time when I can put my talents to a more noble purpose. You haven't been entirely forthright with me either, Taken, but don't worry. I'm the keeper of many secrets.
What'd you call me?
A Taken? Well, formerly so, if we get down to semantics. The Ethereal left you just before you hanged to death. Am I not correct?
How'd you know all this?
My sources are quite good, if I say so myself. But you trusted me. And now, I shall trust you.
Why'd you join me in Devil's Crossing only to leave again?
My job was to scout the countryside, get bearings on enemy strongholds, and investigate weaknesses. Your mention of people surviving out in Devil's Crossing was intriguing, so I wanted to see it for myself. Having learned everything I could about the area, I felt it was time to return to my men in Homestead.
Your men?
Can't say I like it any more than they do, but I am working alongside the Black Legion. They are all that remain of the Imperium's forces.
The First Blade of the Emperor?
Look, I'm sure you have many questions, but now is not the time. We need to get these people to Homestead.
So, how can I help here?
I came upon these refugees on my way through Smuggler's Pass. They were trapped and would soon have become food or entertainment for the trolls. I had to do something. Now we're stuck out here, caught in the midst of a battle between the trolls and the ethereal forces. The tunnel to Homestead is blocked by aether fire, and the only option now is a passage through the mountain deeps. It is a foul place at the bottom of the world. infested with all manner of terrible things that hate the sun. There is no way these people would survive down there. In Devil's Crossing, I saw that you had the power to open rifts. I need you to fight your way to Homestead, secure a rift, and come back for us. So please, help these people. Below is an entrance to the deeps. From there, you'll exit onto the dusty road that will lead you into Homestead. Be swift. I'm not sure how much longer I can hold off the trolls before they come in force.
I'll find a way to Homestead. Oh, we got another person. Hello. Sorry for eavesdropping, but I can help it overhear that you'll be going through the mountain deeps. Yup. See, my sister Dahlia got fed up with waiting while I lay here with a gaping wound in my side. Despite Ulkrim's insistence that she stay, Dahlia set out for the depths. Sorry, I have hiccups, apparently. Set up for the depths on her own in search of rescue and medical supplies. It's been over a day now, and I'm afraid something must have happened. Please look for her. I fear the worst. Sure. Okay, let's explore the rest of this area. Oh, boy. Decided to peek at my comments. I was kind of trying to talk about this earlier. Let's see, why escort them when you can just punch a hole through? Oh, I'm not escorting anybody. I'm punching a hole. Like they're not following me in the slightest. Any escort is purely a name only. I am just here to demolish. Okay, but yeah, so sometimes during like long voice-acted segments, you might see me look down. That's usually because I've pulled up my like YouTube comments for the day, and I'm quickly like making sure nobody said anything terribly objectionable. Because you know, really don't want to like find an absolute trash fire in one of my comment sections, because you know, not great. And so, every once in a while I just run across, like, some particularly choice ones. And so I was trying to talk about this earlier, about how, like, I'm actually trying to be more positive, you know, focus on the positive comments, respond to the good ones, you know, ban the bad people. But every once in a while, there's just, like, the one or two that are just super notably shitty. And I'm just like, how do you become the person that you are? Without, like, either hating yourself, or, like... open the chest with dynamite. So specifically, I got a comment while we were, on our latest Ori and the Blind Forest, video, more or less talking about how much he has, like, a visceral reaction whenever Shell is voice acting, and it's just like, are you daft? I'm assuming he's just extremely misogynistic, and that's the actual answer. I don't like to dismiss people as just, like, just evil, but, like, that's usually, like, the number one thing, is, like, anybody saying, weird, mean things about Shell, apart from maybe backseat gaming too much, but that's, I think, more of a personal issue from my perspective. Either a sociopath or super young. Yeah, I can see that. I just, like... I just don't even know how to respond to those people half the time. I mean, obviously, like, don't. If someone doesn't like Shell, heretic. I mean, I can understand not liking a person, but, yeah, I can pull the comment out. I probably shouldn't focus on these things, but, ho-ho, the cringe when she voice acts. You gotta stop doing that, please. I beg of you, ... Jeez. And it's like, what? What? What?